awesome piece of code that we have streaming this show right now, punchy.tv/anchorbaby. Oh, I'm scrolling, I'm searching, I'm browsing, I'm skimming with our friendly ladies at the Skim. And I'm reading, I'm skimming, and I see the ladies, I see some stink. Oh, I see over there, the ladies at the Skim, they're all worried. I see their brows are furrowed. They're saying parenting is horrible for your health. And we got the experts with the data. They always have sources, right, bro? Surgeon General says parenting is horrible for your health. We're talking about 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎, the Surgeon General, not to be confused with the head of his wife, Vivek Ramaswamy. Why am I laughing? I don't know. Maybe he's the head of his wife, right? That's not a rare thing, right? What's with this succession? It's been a succession now, right? 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎. Who was the guy before 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎? Brown man? Well, hold on. How are you guys? What do you guys call brown people? In Canada, brown people are Indian. Okay, so I got some Canadian training in me a little, okay? I know brown over here is like Mexican. Jerome Adams, wasn't he talking about his mama? My mama. Jerome Adams, he didn't say it like that. He doesn't have that kind of voice. He doesn't speak that way. My mama. She said something about your mamas and masks, probably. Now America's doctor is acknowledging just how difficult things are by issuing an official Surgeon General's warning, saying that raising children can be hazardous to one's health. It's so challenging that nearly half of parents can barely function due to a combo of loneliness, money woes, and general stress. And they're saying they're consumed by worries regarding money, and that's like the overwhelming percentage. We're talking like almost 70%. That's what they're worried about. That's like and it's funny how this is the biggest stress, the money, and then all these other little things. And what does the government focus on? Everything other than the money. I'm sure there are varying levels of pull yourself up by the bootstraps that can be said. But we're talking about the government. This is the government talking to us. It's like, okay, we'll handle all that. What are you doing about things being so restrictive and
So there are some of the traditional ones that all generations have faced, worrying about a kid's safety, worrying about how to manage the teenage years, which aren't easy, and financial worries as well. But there are some new ones that this generation is contending with that my parents, for example, didn't have to deal with. How do you manage social media and phones? How do you manage the mental health crisis that kids are facing in terms of depression and anxiety, as well as the loneliness epidemic that's hit kids particularly hard? We're also hearing that the scourge of gun violence is particularly affecting kids as well as their parents. More than half of our children are worried about a school shooting taking place.
He's talking about these new things the parents got to deal with. Yeah, how about the things that you've put on the people? Government, hell-bent on spending, supply of labor, who's getting it, moving money around, subsidizing, making things expensive for the normal, law-abiding people. Hell-bent on spending on wars, all on a taxpayer dime for illegals getting homes. You're hearing all these things. The point about that is it's a government hell-bent on spending on things that you can't really just buy. You just can't. You can't. Oh, homes are expensive. You got to build more homes. It's simple. It's simple. It's supply and demand. Just build more homes. Kamala even pledging more homes. We'll see how much of a dent that even makes if they even get close to what they're claiming. A government that wants to spend like this is trying to buy things they can't buy. It's just not there. The production is just not there. The people, the workforce, the supply lines and the labor all working enough to produce enough is just not there. It's you know what I'm saying, folks? It's not something you can even purchase just like with money. It's just not there. This paid leave, child tax credits, and support for the parents. But you got to understand these are basically Band-Aids. Like they're fine usually. They're fine in terms like, let's say your company offers these things and they're just a company that's decided to do it like this. It makes financial sense. Take the help. It's help for the family. Take the leave. I don't know. But you got to understand where this messaging is coming from. It's coming from the government. And what is the point here? It's that all this paid leave, this mentality of child tax credits, and we got to move, which is what? It's just, we got to, well, not the tax credits, but in other ways, subsidies, taking from those who have to give to others because we're trying to make this work. And what are they trying to make work? What are they trying to make work? Remember, what is this being proposed as a solution to? A replacement of the family. Don't they say that like half of marriages end in divorce? Like, that's crazy. So on top of that, it's like, we got to try and make this work. We got to subsidize it, which is going to make more of it. Broken families. And what is this all a proposition to? A replacement of this family system. That's why this parenting is so difficult. A replacement of this family system of the father, the head, the mother, the children. That's what it's a replacement to, or at least a proposed one. And so when it's all kind of falling apart, you're trying to pick up all your, it's like a person trying to just hold way too many eggs and they keep dropping and they're just trying to pick them up. But we're supposed to call that normal, right? It reminds me a little bit about Kamala Harris. Speaking of broken families, I mean blended families. My bad. Kamala and her dad, they say he's this Marxist guy. But I wonder if he's as radical as what I'm about to describe. Because check this out. It's a popular vein of attack here, pointing out her father had some pretty interesting ties to some radical thinking, okay, they say. And the other day I was giving some of my thoughts on her speech at the DNC. I was giving my thoughts. I had listened to it and she spoke about her life. She spoke about her upbringing. I was pointing out how the source of this radical thought is closer to home and realer than some Marxist ideology and even anything like that. It was passed down in the home when she became angry at her father. Remember in the speech, she's talking about how she was raised by her mother. So she became angry at her father, but not before she became angry at her mother. She became angry at her mother, but you wouldn't be able to tell. You wouldn't be able to tell because mothers brainwash their children. So what you end up seeing is a daughter who looks like a good daughter in a sense, right? But these are the textbook markers. They feel their mother's struggle. They identify with their mother's struggle deeply. And you wouldn't be able to necessarily even be able to tell that it's anger at first, but what happened is Kamala began to identify with her mother, saw her struggles, felt like it was an injustice, saw the struggles of the women around her. She spoke about this and the people that her mother had to lean on, saw other women in her life struggling and even abused and sexually abused and by their own father and other men. And she took on all that and says it's the reason she became a prosecutor. I think I'm vindicated here. Check this out. Daily Mail. Interesting little story. Don't know if this was ever revealed before, but Kamala Harris's father. Some deets on the father. So here's a little bit. Daily Mail. In an all too common tale, this is the Daily Mail now. A father and daughter who live in the same city but might as well be a million miles away have drifted apart for whatever reason. Yet this particular domestic fissure is suddenly but now more poignant as the daughter in question is the vice president of the United States and running for the top job. While Kamala Harris campaigns from her West Wing office, her 86-year-old father, Donald J. Harris, owns a home less than a mile away. Despite the proximity, however, there is no record of Donald meeting his famous daughter in the White House. His name does not appear in any of the publicly available visitor logs from her 3.5 years in office, nor are there any recent public photographs of the pair together. But it is perhaps more likely that Donald has kept a deliberate distance, determined to stay away from what he has described as political hullabaloo surrounding his daughter, whose controversial comments he once criticized as a travesty. For her part, Harris has previously described their relationship as not close. It was not clear if he had been invited or whether he chose not to come. Kamala would have had good reason to hope he stayed away. Her father, who turned 86 the day after his daughter gave the biggest speech of her life, is a former professor of economics whose politics do little to persuade the Democrats' critics that Kamala is not a proponent of hard left beliefs. See, even this article is expressing some of those claims and trying to claimed that her Marxist influence comes from the father. He went to study in London before earning a PhD from the University of California, Berkeley. In 1962, he met �𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔. They married the following year, had Kamala in 1964. As he was enjoying professional success, his family life was starting to unravel. According to Kamala's 2019 memoir, her parents stopped being kind to each other around this time, when she was just 5. Donald remained in Illinois while �𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔 and the two girls moved back to California. They officially divorced when Kamala was 7. By Donald's account, he wasn't happy with the arrangement. Wow. She took the kids and went off to California. He didn't want that to happen. In a 2018 essay for Jamaica Global website, the father here recalled how the early phase of interaction with my children came to an abrupt halt in 1972. Donald blamed the court system in California, writing, after a hard-fought custody battle in the family court, the context of the relationship was placed within arbitrary limits imposed by a court-ordered divorce settlement based on the false assumption by the state of California that fathers cannot handle parenting. See, he's not that radical. He's a man. The way there's some sense. They call him a Marxist. It's actually her overreaction, her adopting her mother's grievances against the father. That is the source of these actual radicalism. This type of radicalism that wants to destroy the family. That's making it tough for the ladies at the skim. That's raising betas like the Surgeon General. You understand? It's all connected. It's all connected. The evil of the mother that's so ignored. It's the spirit behind this socialism, this degeneration amongst the people. And it's coming from hell. It was talked about back in Genesis. It goes way, way back. Don't take it personal, ladies. You have a way back home too. You heard it before. It's true. I've seen the ladies working on themselves. You have a way back home just like the men, so don't trip. It's just how it is. But hell's coming through, y'all. And you got Kamala with this chip on her shoulder, feeling for her mom and the ladies in her life, ready to tear it all down. That's what's going on, okay? Let me see here. And they're trying to say it's the Marxist father. No, it's a traumatized daughter and an evil mother. She's so sweet. She's just a sweet little �𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔. She's just little and sweet and little and sweet. And can I say something about people who are little and sweet? I think I'm starting to suspect something. There's no such thing as nice and sweet, I think. Or am I just being a little, Nick, whatever, what are you talking? I don't think there's such a thing. Like, think about it. Nice and, okay, maybe there is. But here's where I'm coming at it from. Have you noticed that you can't really be honest with nice and sweet people? Which, fine, maybe that's an issue with you. But here's what I'm trying to get at. I'm thinking about the people who are unable to tell their mothers the truth, who can't even forgive them. They'll say, but she's so nice. I don't want to hurt her feelings. She's so sweet. I couldn't do that to her. You know what that person is? That's a terrorist. That's just as bad as someone who you got to walk around eggshells because they'll blow up on you. Because you're worried about hurting their feelings, that means you know that they're weak. And guess what? Weak people are terrorists. Weak people are terrorists with their feelings. And I don't know if there's anyone good who's sweet and nice and weak.